Nobody now.
Nobody now.
I know. See, I used to love those songs.
Oh yes, man. Let me tell you, I am straight. I was such an old school head. I know a lot of us are. I am just a music lover. Music is my love language. When they say, "What's your love language?" Music.
Mm.
So somebody came out with that shirt and put it on a shirt one day. I was like, "Oh, that's
Just like
me."
music. Yeah, there's
Anybody
nothing like
knows me
music.
knows I love music.
Oh yeah, I grew up around music. They played it around the house. We used to clean to it, everything. Just you couldn't beat that.
Yeah, see, my mom, she was always working, so she was barely ever home.
Okay.
But yeah, she didn't. I don't remember us having like a lot of music around the house. We didn't have records. We didn't have like none of that stuff. None of that stuff. It's kind of like the end of Brown Sugar. How long, how long have you been in love with hip hop? That's why. Look, that's where I wrote a movie about it, right? Uh, 'Cause I love it. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because it's like that makes sense that I would write a movie about hip hop. Hip hop legends or hip hop. Um, yeah. So when she said that, how long have you been in love with hip hop? I'm like, oh,
I know we did it before, but
yeah.
we probably need to talk about um soundtracks. Because I think about all the great songs. Ooh, it's raining and windy. I think about all the great songs. So if we happen to pop out, it's because it's raining and windy in Maryland. But
Yeah, we just had heavy rain. It just calmed down. Go ahead.
yeah, but it's like a lot of great songs came from soundtracks. And I was watching the Wu Tang saga yet last night or yesterday because I was getting caught up. Um, and there's an episode when they do the soundtrack for Tales from the Crypt or Tales from the Hood, Tales from the
Hmm.
Hood,
Tales
and
from the Hood. Oh my goodness.
yeah, and they have a song on there, and it says the Wu Tang, but it was produced by Inspector Deck, which is done in the show, right? And so he was like, nah, just put it under Wu Tang, But like when you think about it, it was soundtracks back then in the 80s to the 90s to all into the 2000s that set the tone because if you really wanted to introduce a new artist, you put them on a soundtrack because they're with a variety of artists and people tend to like them. And then, it kind of dwindled out, but it was like, I have to think about all the best soundtracks, if we go back
Love
to,
should have brought you home
yeah, see,
last
there you go.
night. You
Boomerang,
should have been
Purple
with
Rain.
me. Come on,
um,
by my side, yeah. Absolutely,
Don't Be a
absolutely.
Menace um, soundtrack, Waiting to Exhale
Boomerang was a
soundtrack. Uh,
way to take say, everyone
hey,
falls
Soul Food
in
soundtrack.
love
There
sometimes.
was tons of soundtracks that had great songs on it and introduced artists. The
Hmm.
Best Man, the first Best Man soundtrack. The
Hmm.
second one was kind of a Mary J. Blige album because it was it was Christmas songs on there, but it was a lot of Mary stuff. What was it? Wait, was it the Best Man to Best Man Holiday? I know she had a song on there or something, but I got to look at it again. And then it was
Soundtracks.
Think Like a Man soundtrack was nice. It was banging. I liked it. The second one, I think the second one, I got to look at them. Is one of them, but some soundtracks like Prince had the whole Batman soundtrack. The first
Wow.
Batman movie, and it was all Prince. You know, um,
Wow.
so it's kind of like soundtracks set the tone for us in many ways, right?
Listen, if that sound is right, I'm in. I have soundtrack for. I'm doing a soundtrack for Jade and Love Over Lyrics. I'm
Uh
not
huh.
doing one for the Garter, but I'm doing a soundtrack for Jade and Love Over Lyrics. I got to do one for Love Over Lyrics because I got to get some old school flavor hip hop. I got to get some new. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because of the because it's about the hip hop generations clashing, the new and the
Mm.
old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have to have a soundtrack for Love Over Lyrics. I have to. And then I have the people in the studio.
Right.
Jade, I'm doing a soundtrack for Jade, and I like went through all of the places, I need songs and music and stuff. But there's one song, the title track called Jaded Heart that the writers are writing. And let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, God gave me like 12 lines and I sent it to him. And one of them was like, "You tell me to pick my head up, but I don't even know how." And I was just almost like crying. I was like, oh, because it's a really sad moment that this song will be playing. I know exactly when it's playing, of course, amen. And it's so sad. I'm like, I'm out for soundtracks. Hamilton. I know Hamilton is a musical, but listen. If you know Hamilton, that soundtrack go hard in the paint. Do they still say that, Michael? You got to tell me because
You getting
Oh, it
older.
slaps. I'm sorry, it slaps. Or is that the
What's up,
slap still in?
Thomas?
Because
I don't
hey,
know.
Thomas, because that came out about 6 months ago. It might be out. That soundtrack slaps.
I I was like, hey, I just grew up. That's the joint. But you gotta remember, like, you lived a lot longer in the South, and I was on the East Coast, in the South, but in the East Coast more so.
But your
So,
kids gonna tell you what's in or not. They gonna be like, Mr. Melvin, we don't say
uh,
that anymore.
my students, I was messing with them. Me and some of the teachers started messing with them. We sent them messages because this was the end of the marking period, and so I was like, uh, "That's cap" and all that stuff, and the kids was like, "For real, you really had to do that?" And so they don't, they can't take it. It's so hilarious. Kids are cute. They're
They
funny.
can't take it. They are funny. Uh-oh, it's
Stressful.
10:06. You want to bring us in? Oh yeah,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
Battlefield. That Battlefield.
Let's make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Black Filmmakers Lounge. Black Filmmakers Lounge is where independent filmmakers, whether novelists or professionals, come together to gain insight, perspective through education, information, networking, and to discuss industry best practices that will advance the Black interdependent film community. We'd like to thank you for joining us at the Saturday morning Indie Industry Shop Talk. I'm your host, Michael Melvin, with my co-host, Samira TK Henderson. Welcome to the show.
What's up? Y'all
What's
like my
up,
background
everybody?
music?
Good
Amen.
morning. It is a rainy but yet beautiful Saturday because I'm on break.
Amen.
And we are hanging out. So if you want to join us and like talk or leave comments, go to our YouTube channel or go to our Facebook page. And that's where you can engage in conversation with us, ask questions and get responses. Those are the best two places to go. Anything else is just being shared. But hey, if you're watching, we appreciate you. We love you guys. We thank you for your support. So let's keep this moving. Good morning. It's that wonderful Saturday where we're talking about independent filmmaking. And we always start the show off with what have you been watching? TK, what have you been watching?
Mm-mm. I didn't watch anything this week, but I'm going to
What?
see 1,000 to 1 tomorrow.
Mm.
I'm so excited about that film. I don't know what to do. How you just see a film and you just see like you know what I mean? And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
you guys know we're in the industry. It's like, oh my God, I can't wait for that film to come out. So I've been like that for 3 weeks. How many weeks? 2, 3 weeks since I seen Creed 3 and I saw the trailer for it. I am super excited about seeing 1,001.
Mm. Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm
we want
going
to
to
see it
see that
too.
tomorrow.
Speaking of Creed 3,
Hmm.
it's been released digitally.
Yeah, that
You
makes
can
sense because
it
that makes
dropped
sense.
yesterday. Mm-hmm.
That's what I was telling. That's what I was telling the guy who's brokering like a couple of scripts of mine.
Uh-huh.
He didn't realize. I told him like after the theatrical release, like it hits digital, it hits the streaming platforms,
Yeah,
and
morning,
some of
Tone.
them like hey Tony, like HBO Max and Peacock, they're literally releasing them at the same time.
Right. Well,
They're
some
doing
are. They've tapered back because the deal with AMC was 14 days after theatrical
mm-hmm,
release. Right. That was to help keep the theaters in business. But if you think about it, when did Creed come out? Like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
3-3,
Okay.
3-3.
So 3 weeks later, that 14 days has happened. Think about that. That 14 days has happened. Now it's available on Apple for to pay. You can buy it for $24.99, or you can rent it for
Mm-hmm.
$19.99, which I just buy for $24.99 if I
You just
was
buy it
you.
for $25.
Because I mean, if you like it enough, you're gonna buy it anyway. I mean, what's $5 difference? I mean, there's some inflation. $5 is a lot. Or you can wait it out and go still see it in the theater, still cheaper in the movie theater if you're going by yourself, but with all the food, all the thing, you're gonna sit down with your family. But that's why we got big screen TVs. But we saw it in the movie theater. you
But you
know,
know what? But Honk for Jesus, they released at the same time. Peacock,
yeah,
it released at the same time in the theaters as it did on Peacock.
yes, I remember that. But see, that was when
Mm-hmm.
we were still dealing with the COVID, where everybody was trying to figure out where to go. And you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
see that, like, right? But COVID has started to taper off in a sense. We don't know where it is. What's up, Darrell? Um,
Well, it was in me 3 months ago, and my child, and about
which
six
is
other people
good.
I knew. Oh,
You know
you
what?
you you and Tiffany. Yeah,
Well,
you and
yeah,
Tiffany had it too.
we gonna table
Yeah.
that because this part
Yeah,
of the
keep going.
conversation actually lines up with what we're talking about today, which is, of course, we're doing the What You Watching, but we're gonna project in the future of film and writing comedies, and of course, much more, because you know how we start to get talking around here. But I watched Bel Air, Power,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm enjoying them. Okay, and of course, the Wu-Tang Saga.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been watching those, and of course, hanging out on YouTube. Oddly enough, so that's kind of where I've been. I'm liking Bel Air. I see where it's going. You see a lot of people pop up from the original show, and
Oh.
people who were guests on the original show now have somewhat of major roles. So when y'all watch it, my wife and
Oh.
I, we're supposed to watch the Night Agent or something like that. It's on Netflix. It's about the White House guy who works in the White House at night or whatever. She was like, "Hey, people been talking about it. We gotta watch that." I was like, "Okay,"
Okay.
'cause, yeah, you know. But of course, Power is our thing. We enjoy Power. We've always have, but it's entertainment. Um, Darrell says this week he watched Unseen, Murder Mystery 2. Yeah, we're supposed to check that out too. Uh, Murata Murders, The Bear. I was thinking Cocaine Bear, but okay, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Uh,
is that the cocaine bear or the bear?
it's
Okay.
the bear. It's the bear. Bel Air and Saturdays. So, um, Thomas
What's
says I've
Saturday?
been watching the Country Wayne skits on Facebook. Yeah. So
Country
there's a
Wayne
little
is
bit of
funny.
everything. But yeah. So now that we've talked about what we were watching, and we hope you guys share some more, uh, because that lines up to what we were talking about earlier with Creed coming out on digital platform so quickly, even though it's doing so well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um,
Yes.
because we have to think about the projecting the future of film. Where is it going? And I already knew, like I told people, I said, like, theaters are great. They're getting costly. They're starting to lose money, and the food is horrible. No, let's just be real. The food is not great. I think there was one, what is it, Alamo Draft House or something? We went, and it's like a restaurant. You order your food, and they bring it to you because you have a little table
Mm-hmm.
thing in front of you and a recliner and all that stuff. And they actually prep an actual dinner, right?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been there in years since I moved here, of course, but that's what happened. That was the experience there. So I didn't mind going there because you got some food, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where these people, pizza, hot dogs, maybe a burger or something like that. That's not food to everybody. What I liked about AMC when it was in Columbia, when it first, around where we live, when it first went up, years back when it first airs, there was a cheesecake factory right across from it, and around the
Mhm.
corner was the sushi place. And they would actually let you bring your own food in at
That
one
is
point,
smart.
right? When they first opened. So, because the security guy, oh yeah, no, you can bring your own food. We were like, wait, what? You didn't tell me again. I was ordering sushi on my way. We'd pre-order at
That's
Cheesecake
good.
Factory and bring it because your cheesecake was crowded and you're waiting for food and stuff. And so,
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting, but you have to stop and think about those things and how it impacts us, right?
Mhm.
Because if I can bring in good food to a movie, I'm gonna probably enjoy it a lot better. But if I'm stuck to getting your bad food, and I get it, theaters are losing money, so they had to put the money toward. They got to get you buying the food because it's where when I worked at Kimmel, the manager taught me. He said it's popcorn. Basically, you spend 7 cents a pound for popcorn, and you
Mhm.
charge $3 to $5 for popcorn. You're making a killing, right? And when because Kimmel, what ended up happening before they were starting to go out of business to combat Best Buy, they started buying CDs and selling used CDs like CD record and tape traders did, and they would buy it for
Oh.
like somewhere between $1 to $3 is the most they'd buy it for, and they would turn around and sell it to up to $8. Right, so they're making money off of your used CDs, and it was working for them for a while. Then Best Buy started doing it. Then everybody. That's how you drive. Big businesses will copy what small businesses are doing to drive them out to be the only one in town, which is sometimes dangerous if you're the only one in town because
Mhm.
because your new competitor are other big businesses. So it's who's depends on who's bigger. You know, now Best Buy is a niche business, but they had to add other things into Best Buy. But back to
Clean
filmmaking.
washing dryers.
Yeah. Well, their electronics was their thing, but now they got toys. They got this. They got it. It's like you gotta you gotta make it the place now. Oh, you want to get a phone? Come here. You got to get people in there and to really shop. And we don't buy TVs every year. Now I know some people when they get
Mhm.
their tax money, they go buy TVs, but you're gonna hold on to a TV for at least 5, 6, 7 years unless a really good TV comes out. Like the jump from HD to 4K or the jump from SD to HD, those are different, but you still took your time to do it because you needed the prices to come down. So you
Mhm.
needed that mass production and to make it cheaper. Now you can get a 4K television for what, 200-300 bucks, small one. It's not really real 4K, by the way, but that's what they tell you. It's
Oh.
not. None of it's really. If it doesn't say 4,000 on it, it ain't 4K. That 3,000, that's Ultra
Mm.
HD. That's what they call Ultra HD. It's a little slightly bigger than HD. It's Ultra. but uh so in that, good morning, Felicia. We have to
Hey,
think
Felicia.
about where is film going, right? Because we're impacted by movie theaters. And I did it, and we talked about this in the group we had when we had the round table last month. Um, of I did a survey of my students asking them how many of you guys would rather watch new movies at home or in the movie theater. Now, it was 50-50. It was like 49% in one class, 51% over here, and it was flip-flopping. So
Mhm.
but it was still to me more so 50-50 because 49%, 48%, give or take, right? But when you
It's
have
still a warm up. Mhm.
yeah, so when you have the kids, because that's who I'm going to listen to. And the reason I'm going to listen to the kids, there are your future film goers. Okay, and
Absolutely.
they're more likely. Let's just be real. Young people, um, tweens, teens, little kids usually go with the family, and your young adults, which are your 20 somethings. Those guys are more likely to go to a movie consistently than we do because they're going to hang out.
Mhm.
But the 20 somethings are going to the club, they're doing other stuff. So COVID was only a seal in the coffin for the theater. That's how I looked at it. Because AMC and Regal were already hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Companies were closing down theaters. They were hurting. And what even hurt them the most was these blockbuster films became the biggest focus. And when you have a movie that's 3 hours long, because we're talking about film festivals, right? Film festivals have to run a block, right? So if you're looking at a movie, a feature film that's almost 2.5 to 3 hours long, you can't run a lot of films in between there from the time you open to the time you close. Where back in the day, our movies were about 90 minutes, maybe a little over, right? So they knew, okay, within 2 hours, every 2 hours we can show a movie. That's how they kind of looked at it, right? It gives them time to go in and clean. It gives you time to come sit down, look at the previews and stuff, and run the movie. If you think about it, your previews run about 10, 15 minutes already. So if the movie's 3 hours long, because we're supposed to go see John Wick 4, so we're going to go see that at some point this week. So if you look at it, John Wick 4 is about 2 hours and 40-something minutes long. It's almost 3 hours. With the previews, it's 3 hours, right?
25 minutes worth of previews.
Yeah. So then, would you rather watch it at home where you can pause it, go to the bathroom, do what you need? Because I'm going to tell you, I got tired of going to a movie and I'm like, man, I got to use the bathroom. Because you got that drink. You get the big drink. You got I don't eat popcorn. I do my nachos.
You got your popcorn.
Or the pizza. But, I was a nachos person. When they had nachos at the movie theater, I was like, yeah, because I actually hated popcorn. But the popcorn had a nostalgia because as a kid, everybody got popcorn. But the moment nachos hit and then pretzels with cheese, I was like, oh, let me get they're like, really? You just got to get the nachos. They got a combo for I want the nachos.
I want the nachos. And I want a handful of your popcorn, too.
But then the nachos got worse. Well, see, I'm not a fan of popcorn really because it gets in your teeth.
Nachos.
But
they push in the machine.
You had nachos and the cheese was really nice cheese and they just put it on it. Now here's this little cup container. Take this. And here's the nachos in the bag. Take this.
That they pay 25 cents for each and you paying $10 for it.
So it's like, now your food's getting bad. And that's where I look at the business of theaters is hurting. And like a previous couple shows before, I said theaters need to pair up with independent filmmakers because we can drive.
Absolutely.
Because here's the thing, the independent film, especially local ones, can drive local audiences. Because that's people where you live. And then you still have the blockbusters, you still have the stuff. But now you get to see a film you're not going to see on whatever, if it's good. If it's good quality, and like I said, that can be subjective. But if you're supporting your local talent, you go out and see local talent has to understand, I'm not going to charge $20, $30 for a ticket. I'm going to charge the same thing they charge for a regular film. So if it's 15, we're going to charge 15. What happens is some people stop making a 30-minute film and charging $20 for people to come see it in a movie theater. Team up with other filmmakers to get the theater. If you got a 30-minute film, find 2 other people with a 30-minute or 20-minute film and run them together. But don't, it's much better to team with people than to give people short projects and expect them to pay $20, $25 to come see it. That's your friends and family cost. Because an average Patreon is going to be like, wait a second, 30 minutes? Nah, dog. I pay less than that and I can go see this movie for $13 bucks, $15 tops. We got to think about that. So business, we have to consider what's happening. Because the fact that Creed dropped yesterday means something. Actually, because it's the funny thing is, one, movies do come out on Fridays, but it's rare. Release day has always been Tuesday for music, for movies, for books. I think comic books is Wednesday. But it used to be that release day when I started in the business, when I was working at Kent Mill, when I was working in Kmart Artists, all the new release music, movies, and all that came out on Tuesday. Tuesday was new release day. That's when they get scanned. That's the beginning of their week. Um, and so rarely did albums or things drop on a Friday. Now, certain people did that, right? But you're trying to maximize quick then. And who did that? Beyonce did that one time. She dropped her album online on a Friday, late at midnight, going into a Friday. People got it, downloaded it, bought it. Here's the one with which one was it? Drunken Love one. Because it wasn't her norm of an album, and originally they weren't going to release it. Well, that's what I heard. I can't be 100%. I was not in the room, but I heard they weren't feeling it. So she dropped it. It got sales quick. There was nothing they can do about it. Hey, you making money? We need this. So we have to be business minded as independent filmmakers. How can we work partnerships or ways? But we also, how do we project where things are going? And that's why I said I did the survey with my students, because these are your moviegoers. These are the ones who go see the Marvel, who go see the DC films, who go see rated R movies, unfortunately. But that's, people let them. So they're going to go see all these things. Now we get familiar with something and we might support it. But, there's a comedy horror movie coming out, The Blackening, right? They're more likely going to go see that. And people who are familiar with the actors that are in it will go see it. And then we will go see it as a community because it's funny to us and it plays off the horror tropes when it comes to Black people. When you saw the trailer for it, they were like, don't say it. No, I got to say it. Don't say it. I think we need to split up. We don't ever go split up. Like we don't go investigate. We don't go, so that's what makes it interesting, because we're playing off of things we always talk about we ain't gonna do. Right? We see something happen and we gonna leave. The ghost writes, get out. We out. You don't have to tell me but once. We out. Thank you. You can have the house. Just give me my money back. Thank you.
Just give my money back. For sale. Yeah. Good luck.
But so we have to project this. And in business, you do business projections. It's like, you don't know how much money you're going to make from your film. You don't know. And I think that was for a lot of independent filmmakers, writing projections or estimations was the hardest part, and doing their budget is hard to ask for financing because they don't know where to go. They don't know where to start because they don't understand the business side of it. Right? Because what are your projected sales? Well, have you ever sold anything? No. Well, exactly. And so by you not knowing, that's why when you do a business plan, you have to pull the movies that are similar to your film and say, okay, this is the audience. Your audience is their audience because you have similarities. If you have a Black romantic comedy, you're looking at, what's the most recent Black romantic comedy that came out? And if there haven't been any in the movie theaters, now you got to be like, oh, what do we do? How long ago? And you also got to understand seasons,
that was
right?
my problem. One of my problems. Yeah.
And so projecting is a thing of, don't oversell your stuff. I tend to talk to our people sometimes and they go, oh, we can make millions. Don't do that. I was hoping my first film could make millions, but it ain't make millions. It made his money back, but it ain't make millions. And that's the thing it took time for it didn't make its money right back. Like I spent about 50 grand on this film. And it's 50 grand of not knowing what you're doing. There's a difference, right? That's why we did the previous two shows. What you don't know until you don't know what you don't know until
you don't know what you won't know.
until somebody tell you, until you find out. So I didn't know certain things, and so I was doing poor negotiations. I was doing poor. For that amount of money, I could have hired a crew. Didn't have to do it by myself. Didn't understand that. Didn't know where to look. Didn't trust people. The reason I didn't trust some people, because everybody says they do something, and then when you look at their work, It's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to make a movie. You show me videos. There's a difference. That's why when people go, a cinematographer and videographer are the same thing. They're not. That's why I say you got to know the industry, because yes, we're shooting digitally now, digital video format, but then again, that's why some cameras are called cinema cameras, because they're shooting in what we call logs. Sony is S log, Canon is C log. These things, they're set up in a way for you to do color correction and coloring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you know what a colorist is, they're going to give your film a certain look. They have a certain responsibility. If you know what digital does to your film, that it creates, we work in a color scheme with RGB because we're now doing digital video. And we're giving, we're doing cinematic digital. It has, it introduces fragments into your work. And so if you can zoom in, you can see little specks of red, green, and blue, RGB, because that's the colors screens have. And that's what video does. Film is film. It's printing to the film. And then you go to somewhere, take the film stock, and you having them change it over. It's been so long since I messed with film, my brain. But basically, same thing you do with pictures, not digital pictures. The pictures you old school. You get it developed. You go to get film developed. There we go. My brain had to catch up. So it has changed, right? We had 16 millimeter stock, 8 millimeter for home video cameras like my dad used to use, and some 16 millimeter. And then you have 35 millimeter, which is the larger frames and what films were originally shot on. That's why we're in filmmaking, because we're using film. We still continue to call it film, even though we've moved over into a digital world, and that we had to project that was coming. And so there are things put into our work that are native to digital video, right? So you got to get rid of those things. You got to take them out. And that's where it comes with the editing is so important. Color correction is so important. Darrell said, stop, you giving the nightmares. Yeah, see, if you ever worked on a film thing, and that's the thing, what happens is, and I used to tell some of my friends who were photographers that you could translate over to film very well, because photographers had to sculpt and shape a 2D image into a 3D image on print. So they understood lighting, right? They understand lighting and how to set up that up. Videographers are talking about lighting a room to get enough light so their camera can see things, but they're not sculpturing the image to make it three-dimensional. That's why when people go, turn on the light, boom. Okay, what's film? Nah, that's not what you do. As a filmmaker, you move certain lights. Like I was telling you, TK, we were talking about creating that image where you pop off from your background. And I was like, just bounce your light off the ceiling, right? Or, some people use negative, which is a fill, which is a black scram thing that goes up, and basically you're not bouncing the light, it absorbs it, right? White bounces light instead of absorbing. So you get your
black
shadows.
Absorbs it.
Yeah. So a videographer isn't thinking like that. I mean, to an extent, they're not thinking about that really in terms of film. They don't use that as a lot. Filmmakers, because you're storytellers and you're creating a universe and a world, and when it's dark, it's supposed to be dark, and you got to fill a scene. You're designing the scene to fit the room. You got to make a room that's lit up look like the only lights that are lit up are the lamps in the room, even though you have other lights going. It's a totally different thing. And you have to direct your lights. If you have a window and you shine a light through, you may be aiming our view of a shot. When you watch a movie, we want a character. We may aim the light. So this is where barn doors come into play. All this stuff, and we got to learn that to understand. So, because again, digital video or digital cinema has changed that, right? And now we're looking at where are we going industry wise with all these platforms, right? Everybody, Tubi, Peacock. So what is happening to movie theaters? What is going to happen? How is this going to impact independent filmmakers? You and I had a conversation the other night. We were talking about budgets, right? And writers being on strike. And I remember when the writers were on strike, the time G.I. Joe, right before G.I. Joe came out, the first G.I. Joe movie. And we met the line producer from that movie. We were at the International Black Film Festival, and we met all these people came out, all these people in the industry. And they were telling us, hey, this is what happened. When the writers went on strike, they still shot the movie. Then when the writers came on strike, they wrote the other scenes in. Right?
Oh, wow.
And so, that's cool. That dog is like, I'm not having it. So Doggy Dog Day today. Welcome to the Black Film Base. But yeah, so it's kind of like one of those things where when we have to start understanding the business. The two things I always say with independent filmmakers is they learn a little bit about the technical side, but they really are more creative with it. You know, so they don't get the real basics or have the real understanding. It's like I always tell my students, I'm going to teach you what to do. We need to discuss the why. Because now that you know what to do, why do you do it? When do you do it? What's it going to do to your work? And this is why when I have them watch, that dog is not having it today, y'all. So that's the important part. With us, we need to be like, what's the why? You know, why do you, because you say this when you got a scene in the script. So why is this there? Why is he doing this? Mm-hmm. You know, well, you do that when you're directing. You do that when you're filming. You do that when you're editing. You have to answer those whys. Those whys improve our work. Right? They help with our style of storytelling as well. And then, so like with things changing, why? Why are you an independent filmmaker? That's the first question I ask people, because some people are in it to make money. It's not a lot of money in it all the time. You know, and everybody says they got the breakout film. Oh, I got the movie. Okay. Everybody,
we all do.
You should believe in your work. We all got it. You should believe in your work, but you got to be honest. Go ahead.
No. I'm saying I believe in all mine.
Yeah, but you have to also be business minded to understand, and it may not get what it's supposed to get, and it also comes down to how to market, right? And that's why I was like, the relationships between. You need to go check something. You good?
Hold on. Yeah, hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, guys.
You good. So I was saying basically you need to ask yourself the why so you can understand which direction you're going into. So as we're hanging out with you guys, come on, y'all got questions, you got comments. We trying to help you make your film,
I'm sorry,
do your
guys.
thing. Now you are good. But that why is important. That why is so important. How do we measure what's going to happen in the industry? Are we looking at what's happening? Because Creed 3 coming out, which was making good money in the movie theaters, 3 weeks later, means something.
That's true. And like you said, watching the trends. But the thing about watching the trends is they go and some of them go and come. Mm-hmm. You know, yes, streaming platforms came, and now we have a plethora of streaming platforms. But then, like, like there are some platforms that come or the metaverse, it's like what's going to stick. So what's going to stick? So it's like being, and to me, I guess that's where discernment comes in. It's because it's like trend, it's like you can't become trend chasers either.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we got to pay attention, like you said, to the business part of it, but at the same time, we can't become trend tracers because if we, as we start developing and moving to this, just because this particular trend is here, and then in a year it's faded out. So by the time you like, well, I wrote this 3 years ago for such and such for the doggy verse. You know what I mean? And the doggy verse is fades out now, so now I can't use this film for the doggy verse, and now I got to go revamp it for the universe. You know what I mean? It's like
But the thing
so
is,
mm,
I think trends are important. It's just knowing to win. Like you could, okay, so like let's just put it this way. If you knew Creed 3 was coming, shooting a boxing film would have been the smartest thing to do. Because
right.
then you would have released that boxing film on a Tubi, on a Peacock. And because the same audience that's watching Creed 3 will probably go watch this boxing movie you put out. Right? It's
Right.
like, I think Remember the Titans, Any Giving Sunday, all these sports football movies started coming out around the same time. Right? And it was a perfect timing. They either came right during the NFL, like right before the NFL dropped opening, or right after when people still wanted to see some football, or and so it's all about timing. And there's some films that used to sit on the shelf. Some of the films we watched had sat on a shelf for 1 to 2 years before they got released.
Yep.
And
True.
and sometimes we're thinking, wait a second, you can go back and see a person in a movie and like, I didn't know this person did this movie. That's because they did it a long time ago. Right? And so they just didn't find the right place or time to release it. So they held it back. Sitting in a can on a shelf, and they said this would be perfect to let out right now. And they did it. And they got their actors back. They weren't working. They're like, hey, we need y'all to promote this. Or maybe sometimes they didn't have to do that. When I first studied the industry, what really helped me with understanding was the research I did was telling me, hey, DVDs make up, and I mean straight to home video, DVDs and stuff make up 60% of the money made by the motion picture industry.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's it. Wait, if 60% of the money is the things that go straight to DVD or straight to television and stuff, then only about roughly 40% of the money that's made in the industry comes from what's actually in a movie theater. Then going straight to TV is a better deal. And they're usually, some of the projects used to be cheaper. Now, TV production projects are, some of them costing as much as a movie because they're using those actors.
Right.
To get you to watch. But the shows are shorter too. Like online TV shows, I remember television shows used to be roughly 22 to 28 episodes to make a complete season. What is it right now? Power Be On for what? 10 episodes?
10 episodes.
Another one to be on for 8 episodes. The other one to give you 13 episodes. And that's roughly around where they're at. It's very rare you're going to get 20 something episodes for a season now. Higher production value, better actors. So what are we doing? And we're like, if we wanted to make an independent TV show, we have to emulate that. And you and I were just talking about, hey, you could do a TV show for Tubi because Tubi just doesn't have movies. So if you're going to do like a sitcom style TV show would be a 30-minute show, you shoot a 21 to 22-minute show. Now you got 30 minutes because that allows for Tubi's commercials to go in there. And Peacock got commercials too. So everybody's going to, I know that
that ad base, that's where the money is.
Yeah, I remember Netflix was talking about ad base. Hulu is ad base. So what's happening? Right? They're trying to make up for that money. And you're basically Now you're paying for individual cable. And yet you're watching commercials now. If you think about that for a second, we complained about cable being too expensive. They give us individual platforms. If you add up the cost of all those platforms and what you pay for web, you're paying for cable. Is it worth it? Now, Tubi's free because they do have the ad base, so that's the smoothest thing. So let's go to the comments here. Tone said Sylvester Stallone is making Rocky 7. Haven't heard that yet, but probably so. But I didn't know because I thought their relationship was because he don't own the rights to Rocky. What have I noticed? Here we go. What have I noticed? A lot of streaming platforms are creating a more audience engaging marketing strategy, which I think is so cool. So what do you mean by audience engaging marketing strategy? I'm curious. Tell me, Darryl. Tell me. We're gonna come back to you. Let us know what you think, what you're saying about that. Tone said, I have a movie sitting on a shelf now. I'm starting to learn that. Okay.
Yeah, because there's in some contracts I've seen as a writer, you can actually put that if they don't make it. Oh, I mean, I'm saying I've seen this in the past. I haven't done it, but
Mhm.
they were saying that you can put a clause in there, like if the movie is not made in 5 years, that the rights will revert back to you.
Yeah.
So don't know how true of that is, if it's a buyout or how that works, but they used to. That's what I ran across when I was, in my research in my earlier days.
No, I know some writers would put those clauses in there because, and some of it wasn't 5 years. Like you got X amount of years, like 2 or 3 years to get this going. If it's not going, I can go shop it somewhere else because they're losing money at that time. Derek said
Right.
Fubu TV going ad base. There you go. Hey, what's up, Derek? Man, we mean to call you,
Hey,
brother.
Derek.
We got to get you on here. We're gonna see if we can get you on here when we come from break after next week's break. So, and think about this. There's so like filmmakers, we need to be projecting, right? There's a platform called Fanbase, ran by Isaac Hayes III. Fanbase is where you can send subscriptions to, and you own your stuff. And you got to think about this because the platforms like TikTok, think about this. Your government's trying to get rid of TikTok. So is TikTok viable? People keep treating it like it's viable. Well, to me, it's kind of, if the government's trying to shut it down, it could be on its way out unless a company here in the States buys it and has it, right? You also still have Meta, which is basically Facebook and Instagram. TikTok is losing. I'm not TikTok. Twitter is starting to lose some things. So what are you looking for when it comes to those things? All right. So we need to have those conversations, right? As independent filmmakers. That is why, in order to project where things are going, we need to be talking to each other.
And we need to be reading. We need to be reading the trades more, and that's me too. I try to read every day, the Hollywood Reporter or comes out. You know what I mean? In the
Reporter,
articles and stuff.
Vanity. Yep.
Yeah, trying to remember that we have to read those because we can talk to each other and pass information all day long, but we got to be getting some outside information coming from somewhere.
That's what I mean, though. Like
yeah.
So the way we talk. So I'm gonna give you an example.
Yeah.
The way TK, Jamal, and I and some others talk. If we see an article, or we see a video, we see a YouTube thing or whatever, we send it to each other.
Yep.
Right? Because we are kind of in a conversation of a circle. And so if TK sent me something that's a good thing, I send it to Jamal. Brian, I got my friend Brian Boyd, who I'm hoping one day might come on here. He has a unique way of seeing things, but I love him come on here. But he was like, hey, look at all the stuff that the copyright is expiring on, because now you can use that. So when you're looking for stories and you're looking for ideas, and every year they publish that every couple months. They publish. They let you
Oh
know,
yeah. Yep.
right? And I sent that out to TK. I sent it out to Jamal, Lewis, Leonard, my people. Excuse me, Jacoby. I sent that out because if people are like, "Hey, I'm in a fog right now. I'm trying to think of an idea, but I don't know what to do." Oh wait, this is available. Okay, I can take from this. And you can legally do it. No one can come back and sue you for it because it's public domain. And when things enter public domain, you got the right. You can, you can use it. And so that's what we have to start understanding, right? Thomas said, my film is now over 3 million views on Amazon Prime, currently averaging 15,000 a week. So I went ahead and signed a distribution agreement that was probably not the best deal, but it was basically the only thing that made sense to me my first time out. Boom. I mean, that's what you have to think about your first time out. And we have these conversations like, hey, I'm trying to get back to making features. I'm trying to get back to being on my grind. And how I look at it is, okay, look, do I need to make a film for 70, 80, 90 to 100,000, or could I make a film for 25 to 50,000? Okay, can I make one for 10,000? If I made a movie for 10,000 and I got 100,000 in return, that's a good return on investment. No one's going to be like, oh, I mean, if you made a movie for zero, calling in some bunch of favors, and you turn around and made $5, you did pretty good, regardless of how you think about it.
You did extremely well. If you didn't make the $5 and made the movie, you did very well.
Right. So you have to think about that. All right. So in this day and age, and that's where I think the hard part, and I always said, I was telling somebody the motion picture and the music industry were always going to suffer at some point. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, the reason those industries would suffer, they're big industries meant about owning everything and having everything. Well, platforms are dangerous to them. And here's the reason why. A platform means a subscription, you got it based on X amount of people. You don't have an X amount of people subscribing, that platform is losing money. It was a platform that came before Tubi. Well, Tubi was out. It was another platform, and their premises was to make films or shows that were about 3 minutes long. And it was some Hollywood execs and some people and filmmakers, and it failed. Can't remember the name of it right this moment, but it'll pop in my head at some point. It ended up failing. That can happen. It just might not be what people want or need at the time. You had Vine, which used to be like 15-second videos.
Do it for the Vine.
Exactly. It had a buzz, and as TK said earlier, it was a fad. And then you had a bigger conglomerate that came along, like a Facebook and YouTube, and they had those 15-minute videos. And then they went 30 seconds. Then they got 60-second videos. Then they just had full-on videos. Vine was no longer viable. Where's Vine now? Right? We had MySpace. That's why you always got to look at business. The problem with MySpace was it was too open and too many people got hacked and got viruses. Facebook said, no, we're going to limit its openness. I hear what people like. It's like the Apple and Samsung battle, and I always laugh. Samsung people go, I can do whatever I want with my phone. Apple people like, I don't need to do whatever I want because I know there's dangers to that. Having an open source, you can get viruses, you can get all this stuff. And I told people, I said, it's odd that you now got a virus protection for your cell phone because it's a miniature computer when it's meant to make phone calls. You got to worry about virus protection. Somebody hacking your phone. So that's when you project where things are going because you look at the how well some things have done and what else is coming along, what doors are open. It's like I knew the music industry was going to suffer a little bit because the moment people could download people's music, do you really need this bigger, larger company? Why do people go to record labels? Easy. They have a longer reach because more dollars,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right. Correct.
Bigger conglomerate companies have the longer reach because they have the money. The small guy has a short reach and usually doesn't have a lot of money. However, what you need, as an independent, if I sell 1 million copies, I'm doing extremely well, but it's not necessary. As a signed to a major studio, major record label, major anything, 1 million is only paying X amount of money to everybody. Is chopped up to pay for every little thing. Independence, you ain't chopping it all up. And so the difference is they have to make that $1 million beyond that million mark. When you look at the film industry, you look at the budget.
Mm-hmm.
How much did it cost to make this film? And when it's first released, now here's the crazy thing. Within its first week to 2 weeks, it needs to make back double of its cost. What people often overlook is if we were talking about Fruitvale Station, we were saying, hey, it was made for like 700 million. Its ultimate budget was 900 million, little over 900 million. Right? 900,000. I'm sorry, 900,000. 900,000.
I was like, woo, 900 million. He had a budget.
But if we go and let's pull up. Let's pull up Fruitvale Station. I'm gonna pull it up.
Okay.
I don't know if you're gonna pull it up.
I'm on my phone, so I can't pull it up.
Oh, that's right. So let's see its earnings, right? Because we ultimately want to see how much did it make. And it's still making money because it's on platforms. It's still being watched, right? It's just not making as much, right? It doesn't have that momentum money yet. It has a stabilization. We got to talk about that. Stabilizing income. Earnings. Okay, let's see. So you had a ultimately $900,000 film that grossed a revenue of 16 million. A little over that. Think about that for a second. It made its money back plus. Right? And it was somewhat of an independent film that ended up getting distribution. That built Ryan Coogler's career right there. Boom. Then he got Creed right after that. Lower budget, I think that was like, I want to say it was in the low millions, like either in the single digits or tween digits, teen digits of millions. And it grossed a lot. And then now Black Panther comes along. He gets a $200 million budget. First single superhero movie made with that type of budget. After that, they started giving them that budget. Like after Black Panther, Doctor Strange, the second one had $200 million. The Thor had a $200 million. But Black Panther made a $1.3+ billion return off of $200 million. That's why that's projection. Like, what are you going to make? Well, one, they had the advertising. They had a movement behind it. We were like, let's all go see Black Panther. We going to go. We going to dress up. We going to do this. It has a movement. And we have to think about that because that's where marketing comes into play. And that's why when we discuss marketing, that's what we need to discuss. Marketing your film. Because if we don't project where things are going, then we run into a trouble, right? I will not tell myself, oh, this it's gonna make this much. No, it's not. You cannot guarantee how much you're going to make.
No.
And that's the most dangerous thing you'll ever do. But you can't project why. But here's the thing. Remember that why? Why do you think your movie is going to make $1 million? Well, we've advertised it here. We've promoted it here. We've added this here. We have a partnership with this company over here. We've got people coming from here. When you can break that down in your meeting with your people, your investors, that can make sense. But if you walk into a room, say, hey, I got this idea. It's going to make $1 million. How? I don't know yet, but it is. It's a good movie. I like the story. It's unique. The story's not unique. It's not. I'm going to tell you right now. Guess what? There's a movie coming out called George Foreman.
Big George Foreman.
It's a boxing film. And it's a little about him older after the Ali fight, when he's much older, getting back into boxing. Is that unique? Not really. It's a boxing movie, but it does have a niche market. People who love George Foreman. We all love his grills, like George Foreman. It talks about a little bit about his life. What movies don't talk about people's lives? There's a lot of them. Malcolm X. We can name a string of them. Martin Luther King. Ali talked about Ali's life. So yes, how's the story told? Is the rapping good? Right? You can make a fictitious boxing movie about an old washed out boxer trying to get back in. Guess what? That was Creed 3. He was in prison, came back. They were like, he's out of his prime. He can't do this. But he came back and he surprised them. That's the point. Like, it's all about the storytelling and how you tell it. But the stories aren't unique. The way you tell them, that's what the uniqueness comes in. You as a cinematographer, you as a director, you as the writer, the uniqueness comes from how you tell. We can all write a story about a couple getting divorced. How we tell that story, we can do the War of the Roses type of story where they're fighting and slapstick comedy. We're going to transition a little bit. There's comedy where it's verbal comedy, or it's like a Home Alone type comedy where she throws the iron and hits him in the face and da-da-da, all these things are happening. And Danny DeVito's the lawyer and all this, and they both die at the end. Remember, that's War of the Roses. But that's not new. There's been other movies about a couple going through divorce or breaking up in all the battle war they go through to do it.
Right.
That's to grab our attention. That's for us to enjoy the movie for whatever type of audience we are, we're going to enjoy that film. So we're going to talk quick. Sorry, I know been a long, but I wanted people to think about projecting, because it's very important that we look at the future of something, because that helps us understand our numbers, our expenses. You know, like my theory is I'll buy a camera and just use the same camera for a while, maybe buy 2 or 3 of them. It's better to shoot with 2 or 3 cameras to save time and budget, right? Somebody may shoot with a single camera. I may only want to shoot the scene 3 times and move on. Like, nah, y'all, I tell my actor, hey, you don't get it right after 3 times. It's on you. This is how you going to look on television.
That's 3 times. We're not going to sit here all day. We got to move. We are independent film. We got to go. We got to go, people.
Right. Got to set the set. Got to do, and so everybody's different. Some people have smaller sets, smaller crews. You just got to understand what's going to work for you, but you got to project that out. Those numbers mean something in any business. This is first thing is
numbers
business.
Mean something. There's a page full of numbers. That's how I'm showing it, guys. It's a page full of numbers.
TK is always about numbers. We've been talking about numbers for the past couple months now.
My mom hates it. She's like, you're such a numbers person. I'm like, I'm glad I am. I'm glad I am, because when you put money in my hand, I promise you, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to spend it. I'm going to tell you how it's not going to go to waste, and I'm going to show you every dime I spent. So listen, I'm glad I'm a numbers person. I'm in the right business for it, for sure. So with comedy, it's interesting enough that, you have the slapstick comedy, and then you have the romantic comedy. But, I know you guys know comedy is not like comedy used to be. And it was interesting because I had a client and he was talking about. He said he had a sitcom and he wanted me to look at it. I said, okay, want me to check it out. I said, so what did you base it off of? And he was like, Two Broke Girls. And
Mm.
I think I've mentioned this if any of you remember, probably on the show. And I'm like, Two Broke Girls? Like, why not Sanford and Son, The Jeffersons, Mama's Family, Jamie Foxx show, even Martin, stuff that actually worked and we're still watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like the trends change, yeah. But here's the thing: the trends change. So yeah, Two Broke Girls may have been what's in, but what are we still watching when it comes on?
Mm.
What are we still watching decades and decades and decades and decades later? When I watched Sanford and Son, they did the 10 what is it, 10-second joke so well, like
Mm-hmm.
a joke every 10 seconds. They
Yeah,
did
10 to
that
15
so well
seconds or
that,
something like that. Yeah.
oh my God, like it's so funny. And then when you try to write it, just, because it's slapstick, it sounds so corny. But when you watch them do it, they mastered that thing. They literally mastered that thing. So it's like, why would I, why would I pattern it off of a show now when I can pattern it off a show that we're still watching decades later that has legs?
Mm.
So some of the, but comedy is not like yet with, and then the counterpart, different races have different comedy, comedy elements versus the slapstick comedy and versus just comedy in general. Like when I think of My Cousin Vinny, that's so funny because
Two
it
Utes.
wasn't that they were trying to be funny; they were just funny people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't trying to be Joe Pesci. What's his name? Joe Pesci.
Yeah, Joe Pesci. The Two Utes.
It, it was. He said, "Excuse me, what did you say?" So it wasn't. So that's more like for me. I'm not a slapstick comedy person. I'm more of a situational comedy person, and that is what one of her favorite movies is My Cousin Vinny.
Okay.
That was so funny because they were just being themselves, but it was just funny. They didn't try to create or fabricate funniness out of them. You know what I mean? It just came off very well.
Plus,
So
people
when I think,
have comedic timing. Like some actors are really good at comedic
yes,
timing and understanding the joke and the
yes,
punchline.
yes, and you have to do that. That's why casting is so important. My old mentor used to say, like, I'm not casting people because they can give me money. I'm not casting people because they look like this or do this. Listen, I'm casting people that can freaking act. If you can't act or
Mm.
deliver the comedic timing and all this, that's fine. I can find somewhere else to put you, even if it's a PA. I can find somewhere else to put you, but I cannot. But every place, every acting position, is crucial because you just talked about the ROI. We just talked about the ROI. People are like,
Mhm.
how do I know I'm going to get my money back? And it's so you want to put the best situations and people in place to make that happen. So
Right.
just casting your cousin because she's free and she in town? Yeah, no, probably not. But people do it. People do it.
And
Yeah,
it
well, she'd be
works.
good right here.
It can work.
Hey, if she's sitting there as an extra, it may work. But if she's trying to deliver comedic time and she's somebody who's just a negative person all the time, that's just not going to work. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like you got to fit in where you fit in. And so
Yeah.
when comedy is just not what it used to be. It really isn't. It's
But
not
I
what it
think
used to
it's
be. That's why we're
subjective.
so hooked on the old movies. Yeah,
It's
but when you
subjective.
think about comedy, do you
Uh-huh.
think about comedy? For me, when I think about comedy, I watch a lot of older movies than newer movies when it comes to comedy. If Waterboy is on, I am literally going to Waterboy. I am literally going to sit and watch
Bobby Boucher.
Waterboy. Okay, and I love Vicky, and Vicky love me. But it's what I mean. We will
Yeah.
pick up. You see what I'm saying? Those for some reason that's why I talked. That's why when we talked about the trends, like I said, it just goes back to that. Literally, I'm like, if I'm gonna write a comedy, I'm going back to My Cousin Vinny. I'm going back to Bobby Boucher. I'm going back that way. I'm not looking at what's out now. I mean, no disrespect. It's probably a whole bunch of great comedies out now. But I'm just gonna be real. I'm going back to what I'm still watching that will stop me in my tracks, and I will turn it on the TV. You let me go through the guide and see Waterboy. Go through something to see Waterboy. Oh, I'm watching Waterboy. That's how I am with Rudy too, and a couple other movies. But anyway, But what men want with Taraji, I thought that movie was so, it was kind of slightly raunchy, but again, I don't do raunchy movies, but it was so funny to me. I
Right.
thought she did such an amazing job when she said, "Give me some tea," and the guy said, "I thought black people didn't drink tea anymore." I was like, "This is so funny." So there are
Because
movies,
it
but
pulled
I'm talking,
from what we're familiar with,
yeah,
too.
it did. But the plethora of comedy back in the day, I'm sorry, that just does it for me. It does it for me, and I hope that any comedy I write, I have a romantic comedy that I'm pitching now too, but along with the other stuff. But Project Him, you read Project Him, so Project Him was a family comedy, so it was a little bit of something for everybody. The little brother, made everybody mad, but um, that which would mean I did my job. So I'm writing comedy too. So I don't want to put. I know my friend called. She was like, "This little boy." I was like, "I did my job," but I'm writing comedies too. So but it's just like when I'm looking back at those comedies, I'm like, I want to write like that
But I think,
comedy because it was so enjoyable. It wasn't raunchy. You know what
mhm.
I mean? It's like you don't have to be raunchy. You don't have to do this to sell good comedy or make good comedy. Look at what we come from.
But I
Look at
think
the look
people,
at what's before us,
but
behind
I
us.
think you don't like raunchy comedy, but it has always existed, right?
Yeah.
It's just like clean comedy has existed, raunchy comedy has existed, then you have the in between. So you have
Hmm.
the Bear movie Ted. You have a Ted. You have Family Guy. You have The Simpsons. You have those types of things. You have the Wayne brothers. We're brothers. You have that, right? And that works for some people. Then you have intellectual comedy. There's a thing called black
Hmm.
comedy. Some movies are
Hmm.
black comedy, or dark comedy. Um, so it all depends on the viewer. But I think when we do look at old styles, some of the stuff made back in the day can be offensive. Like if you think about it, you took the premises of the toy with Richard Pryor and the little boy, a white boy, Jackie Gleason, Richard Pryor, a little white boy walks into a place, says, "I want him." He's a black man. That's a
Hmm.
slave movie in a sense. Like people ain't going to jail with that, with the awareness and enlightenment people have today. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
so that can be the problem, right? Um, some shows, like we grew up, my dad did not care for Good Times. He just felt like,
Hmm.
could they ever get out the ghetto? They should have been able to move up. They were working. They were doing this. They were. Why didn't they move out? Go somewhere else. Who did move? The Jeffersons. We met the Jeffersons on All in the Family, but that would have been an insulting show to some people. I watched a
Ooh,
show called
all
The
in my.
Crew. I like The Crew. It's on
Hmm.
Hulu and it's on TV, but we watch it on Hulu. The Crew, I like it. I enjoy watching The Crew. It's funny. Um, so I think it's all subjective because I think there's good comedy now because it relates to now, right? But I can
Right.
still
Right.
enjoy A Different World. I can watch Fresh Prince and I can watch Bel Air and enjoy it too.
Hmm.
But what I like about Bel Air versus Fresh Prince is Bel Air's more dramatic and cinematic in style of
Hmm.
storytelling, but yet it laughs are the laughs. It still has laughs. Um, Fresh Prince was a situational comedy. It was a situation. There's comedy to it. It was meant to make you laugh, but it had themes around it, and those same themes
Right.
translated over to the new one, and it helps. It gives us perspective. Do I
Hmm.
like every film that Seth Rogen or the other guys make all the time? No. It's not for me all the time. But I remember the movie Superbad. And he's
Hmm.
like, McLovin. Like, we watched it, we laughed. Uh, then there was not Superbad. Superbad is with the kids. Um, and I enjoyed it, right? Some people didn't. Oh, why are these little kids cursing? If you're a teacher and you work in elementary school, middle school, and high school, you know for sure that kids have the worst
Uh,
mouths. And I
yep.
tell my students all the time, would you say why are you saying that stuff in front of me if you wouldn't say it in front of your parents? It's the
Yep.
same level of respect, but they still do it. They run the halls, they say stuff. I would love to do a reality show for teachers. Love. Sorry, I don't know who this Noel guy is. Okay, we're being
Spam.
somebody's special child, unique children. All right, so as we ban Noel, it was like, first of all, if you got to type the word side eye, you are horrible. I just want to help you out. If you have to actually type the words, there's an actual emoji that has side eyes. Use it. That's comedy. All right, so, but if you have to actually type the word side eye, you should get off the internet now. Because there's an emoji that has a side eye. I use it often. But the fact that you have to say, the fact that you say side eye and have to type side eye tells me so much about you that,
wow.
just use the emoji. If you see physically, just make a side eye. As I say, special moments in life. All right, so. But let's go back to, but bottom line, like it's about the storytelling, the things you want to do. Right. And so I think there's a place for everything. I think there's a place for every type of comedy writing. We just figure it out, but I do see, I miss the wholesome comedies though, because I do think we can get too many of the same thing because it works and it also produces a level of laziness. Because we go, it works, so I keep doing it. But you can do something so much that it burns people out. Or you're constantly doing the same thing. Now, back in the day, you could watch a lot of situational comedies like Family Matters, Cosby Show, those, and some other things. And they, like, you have, I remember Small Wonder was a show about a little girl that was a robot. And the dad was an inventor. And then you had Alf. Then you had all these things. And everybody would have this twin situation. It would be somebody that looks like somebody. Jamie Foxx show did it, where he had this gangster twin that robbed the bank that looked just like him. And one was at the hotel, one was with the gang. And they meets up together. Every show had that in it. It was like, hey, we're just going to do the layover masking thing where you stand right beside yourself and you have a twin. But everybody knows you don't really have a twin, but we love that effect. And we're just going to play it into the story because it became very popular to do. They did it with Urkel and Stefan. So you kind of have a lot of things repeating within stories with situational comedies. When you look at Different Strokes, when you look at Facts of Life, they have the same person or same writers in the room or created by the same people. So they share a lot of the same themes because they worked. Right. But there's always that feeling of, I've seen this before. I see it again. I got it. I've seen this already. And that's what the thing is. And that's why I say there's nothing new. There's nothing new,
Absolutely.
Yvonne said, can you talk about script brokers? Did you talk about script brokers before, TK? You talk about script agents?
I know they have. You talking about a script agent or?
Because when we talked about broking, you should probably talk about
brokers. It's film brokers.
We're not
they have film brokers.
I'm gonna say this, Yvonne. We can talk about that stuff in the circle, because if you don't join the circle, you're not privy to a lot of the stuff we talk about. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, she said it was on Zoom on a Sunday. But we were talking about brokers for films, like
for films.
Yeah, packaging multiple films in a package and selling the package as opposed to your individual film. Because we were talking about the brothers who did Fireproof and what's the other? Fireproof, uh,
Courageous, Facing
yeah,
the
Courageous,
Giants,
War Room, Facing the Giants, and
Flywheel.
their first movie was Flywheel, and Flywheel didn't do well. But if you wanted their other movies, you had to get Flywheel. Like,
Package it. They do,
yeah, it's a package.
and they do broker individual films, but to shop it to different streaming sources or distributors. But yes, that's the film broker versus a script broker. I haven't heard of any script brokers. If anyone has, let me know. But I haven't heard of any script brokers. Like I have someone who is shopping around stuff for me, so they're brokering the deals like to shop my stuff around. And he's acting as a agent, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but not as a script broker. But yes, hit me up and we'll make sure you answer your question. And of course, in the circle, we talk about all of this stuff. Like Michael said, the circle is free. It doesn't cost to join, but is it? It is. We do have different conversations in the circle.
Yeah, we don't talk. I mean, we talk, but we try to make sure everybody's talking in the circle. This is, us hanging out, talking, getting get y'all questions and stuff like that. But
In the
the
lounge,
circle is
hanging in the
different. Yeah, you
lounge.
in the lounge hanging out. So when I think of comedy, yeah, it's every 10 to 15 seconds of writing. There should be a joke. But I'll say my early slapstick comedy that I was exposed to as a kid was Jerry Lewis, Laurel and Hardy, um, Little Rascals,
Mhm.
um, and the Three Stooges,
Mhm.
right? And Charlie Chaplin for
Oh, okay, okay. So you
and
had a
Buster
good palette
Brown,
of
and
comedy.
Charlie Chaplin, and so yeah, I saw a lot of stuff, growing up, but those were the hijinks were all physical stuff,
Mhm.
and I enjoyed it as a kid. That's what thank you. That's what um I'm like, this is what it's for. You know what I mean? Like growing up as a kid, we enjoyed Bugs Bunny and things like that because that had that slapstick comedy built into it.
You right. You're exactly right. Tom and Jerry, the
Yeah,
uh,
but there was certain
Coyote.
aspects, But again, some of those things were racist. Tom and Jerry had some racist stuff. Bugs Bunny had some when their faces, when they blew up, when they got shot in the face, what they look like. But we allow it to slide because we were indoctrinated mentally into this society. Now we have a level of awareness that goes,
Mhm.
that ain't cool. Or if it's different, I'll put it like this. Family Guy is probably different because they laugh at everybody, right? They poke kind of fun at everybody. It's not limited to a certain group of people or a certain culture in this country or any other country. The problem, I think, becomes when you poke fun at people and it's only one group or it's very selective,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because you're kind of downing that group. And that's where writers have to start thinking about, okay, is this worth it? For a laugh.
Because you can use so many other things, and that's the thing. Even if we pattern some of that stuff back, it's just exchanging the jokes for what's, you know what I mean? Like exchanging the jokes. So when they poke the joke at this person, you know what I mean? You're able to, but it's understanding the technique. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's more of the technique versus the jokes they use. Because I love All in the Family, but when I watch it now, I'm like, if he talked to Edith sideways one more time, you know what I mean? I be thinking that now, like, and I love. Let me tell you, Carol O'Connor is one of my favorite actors. Carol O'Connor. In the Heat of the Night. If you know me, I love In the Heat of the Night. I'm trying. It was on Peacock, and now they switched it, or Amazon Prime, and now they switched it again. So I got to find it again because I was going through every show of every season. Because I can walk in your house and look on your TV and be like, "Oh, you're watching In the Heat of the Night." I can tell by the aesthetics and the look of the scene that is In the Heat of the Night. It's so funny, but that's when he's with what's her name, Harriet. Then on this one he was racist, and then on this one he's with a black woman. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, so to me it's more about the technique, because some of that stuff, because that's what it was back then, and they were able to get away with so much. But now it's like just the technique of the slapstick comedy. Like
Right.
when you say about the cartoons, I was like, that's true. The cartoons were slapstick comedy, duh. But it's the technique. Yeah, it's the technique of the slapstick comedy that you're using. Absolutely.
So yeah, we're glad that you guys have been hanging out with us. We wanted to make sure that we kind of
Yes.
talked about those things. We were going to keep it short, but we just went over a little bit. Uh, we got to work on the
How much a
shortness.
little? How much a little bit? Oh,
All right, so TK, do you have a 60-second jewel you would like to drop on everybody that they can leave with an experience?
drop on myself and everybody else. Let's read those trades. Let's read the trades. Let's read the trades. Let's read the articles that they're the Hollywood Reporter emails that come. Let's just read them.
Yeah.
Read
And I
them all.
think we do the community group. That's one of our big things is, to me, make sure you're reading those things we post, because it's for your reading enjoyment, but to get a deeper understanding.
Mhm. No, I say me too because I'm in and out of Facebook like 5 minutes and I'm out. So I gotta
Mhm.
I try to remember. I gotta go to the Black Filmmakers Lounge community page and I try to post stuff. I'm trying to post more. So I may actually post the Hollywood Reporter articles too.
Yeah, because
So,
you
but I'm
did the
trying to post more too.
WGA thing the other day,
And
yesterday, I
I
think.
and I posted some other stuff. So I'm gonna try to post more in their articles that I come across too. And yeah, you guys, if you see articles like that, definitely post them so we can all, you know, because we're here to build each other up. What does the intro say? In the interdependent film community, trying to make sure we share this information and pass it so we can all be successful um, in this filmmaking world.
Yeah. And hey, YouTube, we love you guys, but we're not here to play them games. I'll just let y'all know that now, right? This is a film. We talk about filmmaking. We're discussing Black film industry for independent film, interdependent filmmakers, and so you know, some of you think you're being cute. Don't be cute. It's dangerous to be cute. Be smart. Smart people just don't just write or post anything trying to be. I know some of you are probably people's kids and you're sitting at home, you got nothing to do because school's out or whatever. But let's be real. Don't do that. Be we're
Mm,
professionals. We're here having a discussion and we're trying to help our fellow filmmakers in the industry and people connect and build. Um, and so I've noticed on YouTube a little influx. Um, we can tell when you're
mm,
kids because grown people don't have them conversations, say stuff. So I just want you to know, so we know, and you and I know, chill. It's okay. You either watch, but if you got a legitimate question, go ahead and ask it. But if you're trying to play them little games on the internet, not the place. Get your banned real quick.
mm.
All right. So that was my jewel for today. The way to get banned is be immature. Don't be immature. Be mature. Everybody not playing games with you. All right. So be strategic, intentional, and authentic. That is the Black Filmmakers Lounge way. We appreciate you guys for joining us today. I'm your host, Michael Melvin, my co-host, Amira TK Henderson. We've been hanging out, having a wonderful time. We love you guys. We appreciate you for hopping on. We're going to take a break next Saturday just to kind of enjoy a little vacation and spend time with family. But we'll be back the next Saturday after, bringing guests, doing all these wonderful things. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Have a blessed, wonderful weekend. Enjoy some sun if you got somewhere you're at. Go shoot something, do something. If you got some good questions for the next show, send us your questions so we can put it up. Maybe some topics you'd like us to talk about on the filmmaking tip, because that's all we talk about here. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. Enjoy. Peace. Like, subscribe, and share. We out.
Like, subscribe, and share.
What?
Like, subscribe, and share. Hey, like, subscribe, and share. Hey, hey.
All right, y'all. We love y'all. Be blessed.
Bye.